Okay, I'm drawing. I don't know what I'm doing, to be honest. I guess I upset some of my viewers, so they stopped watching. I didn't mean to. Got this pen. Comes with like ink. I don't know how to set it up. I guess you just put it in there. This ink is gonna go everywhere. How do I share this? This tripod is like stuck to my phone. So I'm sorry. I just talk about dumb shit. Never mind. God, this thing is like gonna break my phone. So I guess I put this in here. And then I can nothing's really happening. just stuck in there now. Oh my god. How do I get it out? I'm gonna go get a toothpick. Great. Oh, you guys didn't hear any of that. Fuck it. Whew. Okay. I guess I was muted the whole time. Shoot, man. This, like, tripod sucks my balls off. Jesus. I was just gonna say sorry if you guys watched before and got intimidated or upset by some of the things I say or do on my stream. But when you make comics like this or drawings or art, sometimes fate can bring that to real life. And I've been drawing violent things since I was a kid and growing up in a very very hostile environment. Like violent and stuff like that. You would want to express that through your art, but sometimes when I'm video gaming or streaming, I express it out loud through the game, or you hear me talking and it upsets some people or makes people uncomfortable. Well, you can't feel bad for what you say or do. And as an artist, that's what it means to sacrifice for your art, right? So people sacrifice for their art to make sure that they push the boundaries of, excuse me, so that others can do that before you. And it could be intimidating because that's a true freedom expression. That's the freest form of excuse me, I have hiccups. Gassy boy. Freest form of freedom of thought and expression beyond soldiers fighting for your rights. And that's why you have social warriors online trying to complain about that. And you have to realize the United States of America is freest country compared to our allies. I would say Japan and Canada. But other countries have dictatorships, and it all comes from Caesar in Rome. Democracy, but he was a dictator, right? And I make a joke about it that Jesus was a stoner. He's like, yeah, man, there's only one God. But it was the end of the Iron Age, and there was more word of mouth. So by the time he came around, people were getting tired of being crucified, controlled, killed for what they said or did. That's why we have freedom of religion, right to bear arms, amendments, Constitution, Bill of Rights. That's why when You see people like Ellen DeGeneres going to another country because she has something to do with Epstein or Diddy or anything like that, and she's scared or she doesn't like Trump. You have to realize that these people, these social warriors, mostly actors and celebrities, go online and or like in their interviews and talk about how they need peace, world peace, and get rid of guns. You can't do that. And just like California, people that made the lawmakers, it's against the Constitution. It's illegal to say that kids can't buy, 18-year-olds can't buy handguns. That's your right. You're an adult. That's why the Supreme Court legalized bump stocks. Now, when it comes to making art, that's the freest form of expression beyond sacrificing and defending your country or yourselves against a dictatorship or ruler or communism. When you have propaganda, fear mongering, talking from communism, dictatorships, talking about how like marijuana causes schizophrenia or like guns are bad because not all guns. Like I mean, it would take a cannon round, and like not everybody can get a tank. 50 cals go far, but I mean, if you're shooting a 50, you're just gonna get an immediate response. Guns drop. Guns drop. They curve. They they drop like 100, 200 meters, not far from here. They don't go forever. It's only when you see the stories of when, guns drop out of the sky and they kill like a baby in a crib in a house or something, right? People start fearing. But there's a lot of fear mongering, and you have the rights. Your rights. Not all countries have those rights. Our allies aren't even as free as the United States of America. So when you see celebrities talking about peace and all that, they don't know what they're talking about. They have true power, money. They have all the money in the world to control everything. And even Putin and Russia, Chinese Communist Party, the leaders, the generals, the officers understand this. They understand what freedom is and democracy, but they won't say that, to the general public. They'll say it every once in a while to the other leaders, or they will say it to the general public, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's their job to like show power, right? But art is the truest form of expression. So when you see me raging or whatever online, it's best that you understand that I've been drawing violent things since I was a little kid. I come from a hostile environment, and I usually express this through art, through my comics, through my stories. And sometimes those comics, those stories that you draw, come to life. And that's just our fate, whether whatever story I drew that was violent or whatever. And sometimes I express it through my streams by, you know, making people feel uncomfortable. So I'm sorry for that, but as an artist, you can't feel bad, and you have to push the envelope of your art to get an emotion, to get a reaction out of people. And it is uncomfortable. You have to feel a little uncomfortable to push the boundary. And without those boundaries, you would have dictatorship and control. I mean, with boundaries, I don't know how to explain it. You would have control and dictatorship if artists weren't allowed to sacrifice for their art. So it means to sacrifice for your art. But those social warriors online want to be perfect. They want to be controlling everyone, and they're not going to. But the whole key to my art or any art is to push the boundary of vulgar, gore, um, controversy. And sometimes it comes out in real life. But you have to know these cartoons were made for the mafia, and it just so happens kids love cartoons, right? Video games too, like Doom. If you had a kid playing Doom, they'd be running in circles, shooting at the wall. But it was the creators that made Team Deathmatch. They keep rules to make it fun, and kids couldn't make a video game like Doom. So it's good to understand where your freedom is. Even our allies aren't as free, right? The communism, dictatorship, kings and queens and rulers, emperors. So you have to be thankful because where we live, it ain't like Israel where they're bombarding Israel, right? With rocket attacks from Iran or Hamas and Palestine getting taken over, which is very sad because Palestine didn't really do anything. It had some conflicts that killed 9 Americans, but it was like a misunderstanding. It wasn't on purpose. But they got taken over by Hamas and Taliban and Al Qaeda and ISIS. So you have to be thankful for where we live. Our worst problem is probably like Mexico border, but they aren't coming in with militaries. And that's why you have the right to bear arms. We have a military and a response. They aren't bombarding us with rocket attacks like Israel. You aren't getting rocketed. So when you see Ellen DeGeneres moving because she doesn't like Trump, it's kind of disrespectful and cowardly. Honestly, we don't know if she's a pedophile or like a rapist or what, but she's been known to say horrible things. For her to defend herself, she can't. Maybe if she was here, she'd be able to take me to court for saying that. She can't do shit now, can she? It's sacrifice for our art. And, you can't get mad at the military because the right to bear arms is defend yourself in case the military tries to take over. They have their own roles, and military wouldn't do that. There's good people in there, and they usually kick those people out or, shadow ban them. But the right to bear arms just means that you're the last defense, and that's why the Supreme Court legalized bump stocks because it's against the law. The police to be militarized and want to be more than public servants and peacekeepers is just ridiculous and a form of dictatorship. Say that you can't have guns that are better than the police and they come in with SWAT and all this. That's why you have a right to a militia. That's what the Crips and Bloods are. You know, it all stems from the CIA in the 70s corrupting the black community with crack, cocaine, and making gangs from rebel groups in South America, rebel insurgency groups. And you have to realize racism wasn't too long ago. It was only like 60 years ago. And beyond that, the combustion age was only like 120 years ago, 140 years ago. So it's not too long ago that there was racism. But art, next to being a soldier, is one of the freest forms of expression. And to be judged for saying things or doing things, you shouldn't judge people because people all deserve second chances. I'm not saying that I do because I said something crazy, but I'm just saying in general that all people, there is a God, but it's just religion that masks reality from people. And you have freedom of religion. That's what Jesus was, right? There's only one God, man. I make a joke, right? And Caesar got pissed. He was talking about one God when they believed in multiple gods back then. So when he would talk out, it was a dictatorship, the first democracy. And he had senators and courts. But when he sacrificed Jesus, crucified him, it got a little too much. And people finally, they ever had word of mouth back then because it was the end of the Iron Age, Copper Age, and the Iron Age brought revolution and industrial components to the world, like some forms of factories or tools and implements. So when word of mouth and people got tired of being controlled by Caesar, like Cleopatra always being kidnapped by him, even though it was a different general. Caesar died and they had generals, and Pontius Pilate was the one. But people got tired of it, so that's why Jesus is such a influential figure. But to not have controversy, like GTA taking out the characters in their games, like the Brown Bomber because it was racist. That's their art. You already made it, and for you to take that out is just showing to controllers and dictators that they can control you, and that's what art is, the sacrifice for your art. I'm not saying artists weren't bad, because all artists were a form of controversy, like Stieg Larsson for the girl with the dragon tattoo. They said that he was just sitting there staring. That's how he got the idea at his friend who was a girl being assaulted, and he didn't want to do anything. Or like Leonardo da Vinci, or Edgar Allan Poe being racist, or H.P. Lovecraft being extremely racist. It's hard to find black figures in history who are artists, right? That are more influential than some of these that have been throughout history, African American black artists. And the only form that I can think of are the blues artists, Missouri, who, Misery Loves Company, um, and Missouri boat rides and Mississippi blues. You know, those were artists that were influential in society. Jimi Hendrix. But when it comes to all these artists, they did have their flaws and their controversies. But without controversy, it wouldn't be pushing the envelope, right? Not saying, not advocating for racism, not saying racism is good. I'm just saying they were racist. It's just part of the subject I'm talking about. I'm not pertaining to that one area. But, you did have, Van Gogh cutting his ear off. He was a psychopath. And some artists are just like out there, right? But when it comes to expressing yourself, that's the best form of expression next to a soldier, which being on top of that because they're protecting you so that you're free. So you have to thank the US military and our allies. But you have to understand the United States of America is the freest country in the whole world. And that's why it's so prone to always being attacked by propaganda, fear mongering, saying guns are bad. And then you have the social warriors saying you need peace and trying to pin a certain, that whole topic of world peace and stop all of the try to control. They're like little dictators because they have money. And because they have money, they could get away with everything, and they're truly protected. People that don't have money aren't as protected as celebrities. So you have to realize that when you see me raging online as an artist and people unsubscribe because of something I said or did something bad, that this was expression that was put to the art that I put in, the stories I've always made as a kid, but those stories through fate, it's not on purpose, come to fruition. And it sucks that, I come from a violent or hostile environment, but when you see these celebrities talking about world peace and get rid of guns, they're no better than dictators and rulers who control people and kill people. And we have a right to bear arms because that's a way we defend ourselves and keep peace, because we're the last defense in America when, if the military were to fall or try to take over the country, which they wouldn't, they're good people, like I said. You have NCIS and military police and court martials for generals that try to act outside the law or hurt people. But if you didn't believe in our Constitution and want to change that, the amendments and the Bill of Rights, then you should go to another country like Israel that's getting rocket attacked and bombarded, because our borders are a lot more modest compared to the problems those countries have. That's why Israel is so powerful, and they don't like having anyone control them. And people say, oh, but Israel's bad. They just don't stand for no one to tell them what to do. You must understand that. Our worst problem is Mexicans pushing through the border and illegal citizens or cartel. Little violence here and there, but you never see an army because we have a military. We would have immediate response, but also you can't have the police being more than the police, public servants, and peacekeepers. And sometimes it's harder to be a peacekeeper than just a civilian joining the police force or these agencies, which they want to just have power and control people and hurt people, or kill people for no reason. Being a peacekeeper is easier and also more difficult, but that's way more modest compared to having rocket attacks. We have the Iron Dome to protect us from rockets, and you can't fear Russia or World War III or any of that. But for people to talk out, cry about, getting rid of guns, that's why, it's illegal to make it illegal in California to kids that can't buy handguns at the age of 18. It's in our Constitution. It's your rights. It's your Bill of Rights. That's why the Supreme Court legalized bump stocks. The police aren't supposed to have better weapons than the civilians. It's supposed to be equal rights. And they want to militarize the police and all this, right? That's why you have a right to a militia. That's why the Crips and the Bloods are militias, but they forget that. And, if you have someone that's in the militia that's acting out, killing innocent people, or, turning bad, the law comes for you. But for people to feel bad about what they say and do is true form of control, criticism, and freedom of expression, religion, and your rights and your constitution, your amendments, right to, bear arms and to protect yourself of fear of anything or anyone. Or so the military can't seize your house or property. So that's why when the National Guard took over that hotel, it was like a huge infraction of the Amendment, Constitution, Bill of Rights, and they got in trouble for that. So when you see people getting mad for things I say or do as an artist, or like anyone really, I mean, God, it doesn't matter what you say or do. You could do anything, say or do anything. It doesn't just fall under democracy. It falls under, or a constitution. It ends up being reality of the human race. Good, evil, innocent, or in between. God doesn't care. He just lets you know through signs. And whether you believe in that or not, it's religion that masks those things. Not saying you can't have religion. That's why we have freedom of religion. But it's religion that masks those realities from people understanding that you can't, to do it themselves. They have to do it themselves. You can't pray to a God to get everything done. You have to actually take action on your own. And art is the truest form of expression and freedom next to being a soldier, like I say. And a lot of artists sacrifice for their art or have died, and that's why you have Tiananmen Square footage and Cold War being taken out, which was in China. They had students who were protesting, and they brought tanks in, the Chinese Communist Party, and soldiers, and they killed all kinds of people with tanks and ran over innocent kids or students, and they took it out of Call of Duty because Chinese Communist Party, excuse me, were like, we won't allow this game to be sold. So it's kind of like bowing to dictators, and what you that's the opposite of art, and that's what video games are. They're art. They're, no matter what people say, movies. That's why it's kind of dumb that Disney makes their movies for kids now. All Star Wars they edit things out and stuff, and GTA goes and edits out their little characters called the Brown Bomber because it was racist. I mean, that's what art is. You're pushing the envelope. That's what my art is. Even if I rage online, you find it uncomfortable or whatever. In order to push the envelope and so that people can have more freedom in the future, you do things that are vulgar, that are controversial, that are gory, that are horror and violence, get an emotion out of them, get a reaction. And that's all you want. It doesn't matter. It's not about how many you sell or who sees it. It's about whoever sees it getting that reaction from them, that emotion. And people that ban books and all that, that's the whole controversy being Nazis, right? Is that they're burning books and or like banning Harry Potter because it had magic or whatever the hell. 1984 banning books in schools, or that's why like a lot of senators are weirdos, right? Because they go and ban uh, kinds of like sexual health books, religious titles, controversial books from schools, and it ends up being to the point where like, oh, are you a pedophile or what? But that's what art is. So to feel bad about something you did or said, you shouldn't feel bad about. You could do anything or say anything. One thing I noticed about YouTube though is that if you say anything racist or controversial, they'll get mad at you because it's a company. You kind of work for them, right? They'll make you go to like a work lobby. But when you're an artist and you're expressing yourself, this is a term of dictatorship and control. Form. So when it comes to drawing and art, you have many things in history that stand out. May have the flag during Iwo Jima and the soldiers putting up the flag, or the little girl that was set on fire of napalm who was running naked in the picture, or you have the Tiananmen Square footage. And these are all forms of communism and dictatorship and propaganda when they try to ban things like that from being seen by the public eye. And you want to push the envelope when it comes to art and dictatorship and controlling people. So when you see stuff like video games being made for kids or movies or cartoons, they're not pushing the envelope. They're not helping against freedom. They're not helping stimulate the kid's mind, even if it has some kind of learning in it. It's just a form of they're under control. And cartoons were made for the mafia. They made a cartoon. The mafia loved it. They used to go to the theater all the time. And that's why cartoons back then were racist. They would portray people with big lips. And I'm not saying the mafia is racist. I'm just saying in that era, it was racist. We are barely coming from racism like 60 years ago, from the combustion age. The Iron Age during Jesus' time, people finally had word of mouth, able to get public outcry. They got tired of it. That's why he's such an influential figure. You had the religious movements after Jesus where they stopped believing in the gods. That's why Jesus was crucified, and there have been crucifixions for 10,000, 2,000 years beyond that. So when you see people in history being controlled, you would want these artists to prove something more than just, oh, I'm taking it out of the game or out of the movie or changing it because public outcry or political correctness. So if you had your book banned, that would make it even more popular, word of mouth. But you wouldn't want your book banned, and that would make whoever bans it a dictator or controller. Communism, right? Not saying all forms of communism have bad people in them, because the civilians aren't all bad, or neither are the soldiers at the end of the day when soldiers fight, like Russians or US or Ukraine or Russians or Chinese in the US or whatever, right? At the end of the day, they're all friends outside of the war theater. It's just the way it is. They all believe in one thing, and it's just like, it is what it is. But, just move on with your day. But it's the generals that don't want that, and the leaders. Every once in a while, Putin advocates for democracy. And then you see that he bans YouTube, or he bans social media or video games, or Jinping and Chinese Communist Party ban video games. But when it comes to bowing to people and feeling bad for what you say, like, I got it unsubscribed. Please don't be mad at me, whoever unsubscribed. I love you, right? I mean, I didn't mean to make you feel upset or anything. I'm so sorry. But that's just my form of expression, my freedom of expression. And when you come from a background like mine and you draw stuff since a little kid that's violent and ends up becoming reality and fruition, then your freedom of expression is being expressed through the stream. And I should be putting it down into this book, and I would get ultimate content, right? Making money through art, through comics. But that's my form of artistry, is playing those video games, being good at those video games. They're art. But sometimes, when you do manly things or womanly things, you express those things. And some people will feel uncomfortable. But you can't be mad at the people like that. And people deserve second chances. I'm not saying I do for anything I said, but it's not about what you did in the past. It's about what you do in the present and the future that defines who you are. Now, to feel bad for things like that is just silly, and that's a form of control. But it's through art that we truly find expression, whether people like it or not, whether people that you want it to be seen by, or whether the people that know it or not see it. At the end of the day, you're an artist, and that's what it means to sacrifice for your art. And that's what dictatorship and control is. They want to kill us, they want to control us, they want to make us feel bad for what we say or do, but that's just our life, that's just where we come from. That's why when you see things like The Last of Us and Ellie being so, outcry, or Black Lagoon and Revy being a straight up stone cold killer and no one really tells her anything, or being Casino Royale and James Bond having to do his job and not having any second thoughts about it. Or like Cowboy Bebop and a soldier coming from the trenches. So you have these forms of art, and second to that would be being a soldier, forms of expression, freedom, speech, thought. And when people don't like it, and there's so much control in the world and everybody wants to be perfect, and peacekeepers are supposed to be kept to law enforcement, or to the problem at task, you wouldn't want dictators to be involved in that mix. And so many people that are social warriors on social media that have opinions are dictators, or people think they're gang members or gangsters, or some people are straight up killers, but that's just the life we come from. They want to judge, they can judge all they want, but at the end of the day, it's their freedom, their war. So to be in America, the United States of America, the freest country in the whole world, you're free from any fear of anything, want, or fear from anyone. And that is true freedom. So when you see like Ellen DeGeneres moving away because she doesn't like Trump, it's so stupid that they get so upset, but they don't understand the true meaning of what America is, the United States of America. And I understand if you kill a lot of people, you may have to run away to another country. You would find peace and consolidation in those countries too, because the culture, it's all about the culture at the end of the day. And you can't control anything in this world. People have freedom to do anything they want. Anyone, anywhere, to do or say anything they want. And that's all they want in the world, is to control everybody. And not everybody is as free as the United States of America. But I'm sure you would find happiness wherever you go, wherever you're from. And it's all about the civilians at the end of the day, not the governments. But there is like mass surveillance, like I was saying, in like England and China. And you got kings and queens, and they can't own guns. They don't have the freedoms that America has. So you have to be grateful, thankful to live in the United States of America. Even if those countries always say, yeah, but you don't have the medical care we have, or all this violence. They're not as big as America is. And you're always going to have some dictator communist trying to tell you otherwise when you know the truth. And people have a right to bear arms. It's fear mongering that people keep trying to push into the world. So when you see me rage online, don't take it personally. Keep my subscription. I'm not like gonna don't be scared of anyone. Don't be a fear from anyone or anything. There's no one in this world that's could control you unless you lived in those countries, and then the Communist Party would come for me, right? But that's what we're trying to stray away from, is that mass surveillance and mass control. But it's the United States of America that has true freedom. And our allies are there to help us, like England, Japan, Canada, but they aren't as free as we are. Except for like Japan's probably the closest, and like Canada, in my opinion, and Ireland. But at the end of the day, it ends up being just, controllers trying to control things and people judging. And I am sorry if I was raging and I made you feel bad, or ruined your day, or said anything that was awful or egregious or vulgar. But that's my freedom of expression being pushed out towards, that video game or whatever. And I like to play video games. I like to play their art and be good at, sports and video games and stuff. Triathlete, CrossFit, and to put it into art as well, so that, you can have that form of expression, which I should be putting it into this instead of raging on Call of Duty and getting all my friends freaked out. But it is cool to be able to express yourself. But if you're not expressing yourself and you're letting others control what you're saying or doing, then you're no better than a god who will want to kill you or damn you. And God doesn't want that. But for people to try to be a god would be damnation himself from a true God. Because God would want every form of freedom, evil, good, innocent, in between. And it's not about what you do, it's second chances. It's between the victims and them or the court, you know? But for all these celebrities to talk about world peace and getting rid of guns, it's ridiculous. And it's not about judging people for what they do, right? Like, that's your opinion. But, everybody can do what they want in this world. You just have to know that there's cowards everywhere. So what is there to fear? But no one's going to control someone from killing or being a pedophile or rapist or human trafficker or serial killer or innocent or both or in between, because that's just freedom. And that's what art is. Like I said, all artists there's been good and bad ones. And the best, I think, in my opinion, are the Black and African American community, because you haven't seen much of them. They've been oppressed for so long. But when it comes to comic books, video games, and TV, and expressing yourself online, social media, you have those social warriors who want to control people, want to be dictators, don't want you to express yourself, and that's just your life. That's just where we come from. But I just had to explain that because, my whole key to art is to push the envelope, and if you can't push the envelope, then people can't be freer in the future, or more free, excuse my term, language. Because, like I said, you got that box. Everybody wants to be a puppet or controlled or a cookie cutter, same, or do it for the kids, like Disney or cartoons nowadays, when it's meant to be for adults. And that stimulates the kid's mind. Do things for kids. Sure, there's a positive message. Disney does it all the time. They have great movies out there with positive messages, feel good movies, but you have to feel uncomfortable in order to get true expression and freedom of thought out there. And the whole point to my art is to get that reaction out of you, that emotion. And if I did that, I've succeeded to be a true artist. But nowadays, people want you to feel guilty, feel embarrassed for what you say or do. That's not how the world works. We don't feel guilty or embarrassed, no matter if they have some secret technology that could read your mind out there, people that could talk to you, or like hackers that control or power suggestion everywhere, right? Trying to control you or your thoughts and your process and all this. It's just about being free. But if you're going to be an artist and make these video games like Grand Theft Auto, Call of Duty, and I don't want to get banned from playing Grand Theft Auto or Call of Duty. I'm not saying like, that I hate you or anything, but it's about pushing that envelope and making sure that other people are free in the future beyond you. And I'm sure if you want to be good or bad, that's your opinion. That's your I don't know how the Big Lebowski would say it. Like, that's your provocative. I don't know what the fuck the word is. I'm forgetting words, but it's like your prognosis, dude, or whatever the fuck he says. But that's just what art is about. I mean, if you want to make art, go and do it. But also know that you don't have to make art to be. You don't have to be an artist to be free or a soldier. Just know that your freedoms, your rights, Constitution, Bill of Rights, and I know that you might be watching from another country. It's all about culture at the end of the day in those countries where freedom isn't as plentiful as it is in the United States of America. And you don't have to move to the United States of America, but you will probably have to sacrifice to be able to express that or get your opinion out and be put in danger. But the culture is what saves you at the end of the day, and you must respect other cultures when you go to China or other religions, right? When you go to Russia or wherever, and can't go to Russia now, but it's not the civilians' fault, it's the generals and the leaders that control people. Even then, generals, it's not their fault either, right? They're just soldiers at the end of the day. It's really the leaders, and even the leaders, we can't judge them too much because they're just they're just people at the end of the day too that deserve to be free. It doesn't matter what walk of life or where you come from, but you can't blame the civilians or the citizens of that country, right? You can't be like, oh, fuck China, it's the Chinese Communist Party. You can't be like, fuck Russia, it's the Russian government. You can't be like, fuck Iran, there's Iranians that live there that have no choice, that they force the women to wear shawls. So the clerics and the sheiks shouldn't do that to them. But, that's just culture. You should be proud from where you're from, no matter if you live in poverty or wealth. And it's not a matter of how much money you have or how poor you are. We're all humans and we're all friends at the end of the day. It doesn't matter if you're a serial killer, pedophile, rapist. We're all just humans living on this earth. And it's your prerogative, man. But, some stuff is worse than others, but you can't control the whole world just to control one pedophile or one rapist, or like you're mad at Trump, right? It's like, it's just about freedom. And when you see me raging and you don't like what I say or may upset you, I'm sorry that you felt that way. But as an artist, I can't apologize for being who I am. I expressed this, I should have expressed it through my art, and I would have got true potential for my work and money. And it would have been good, whether controversial or whatever, which I do like. I put pedophiles or pedophilia, lolly, what is it, hentai from anime that everybody hates so much, that Japan doesn't even want to deal with in video games because they're like, nope, we're not making video games for America because all they do is complain about us making sexy women, which is right. Because, like, if you're going to have a superhero or someone that fights, it's bullshit. You can't have a fat superhero. They ain't Butterball over here in the boxing championship. But, not that I'm saying you can't, but impossible. Yeah, and that's just human anatomy. But for me to get conflict and interest and vulgarity and gore and violence and find an emotional reaction out of you, that's art. And whether they're bad or good, that brings that brings freedom to the next person who does art because they push the envelope. I'm not advocating for pedophilia or like pedophiles or anything, but I don't mind lollies in anime. I think it's funny as hell. I laugh when I smoke weed, especially. Many of my friends too. We laugh at hentai. It's fucking awesome. So we get upset when you go to Google and you type in lolly, anime or something, and it said, "Oh, you're looking at child abuse. You need to do some of." So all these lawyers that try to control people's thoughts and opinions over controversial things, whether stuff like that or like pedophile hunters or social warriors, are truly dictators. And I'm not advocating for them copying kids that take pictures of kids and draw them. It's about from the mind, and not telling you to like take mental pictures of like kids me in the playground look like a fucking freak or so, but take inspiration from the previous guys who got in trouble. But for me to put stuff like that in my work, like a pedophile, or like maybe the hero is a pedophile, or maybe there's a villain that's a pedophile or something, right? Just to get that expression out of you, just to say that they're all villains, that the subject of the story, that they're all mercenaries or bad, or that they're all righteous in their own way, makes it that I make my own art, so I push the envelope, not so that I can be in a box and think the same way as everyone else, because it's about thinking out loud that allows you to be free. But it's also, you know, between them and those people and getting the most evil and vile people in the world if you're like an agency. So that's why it's bad when you see agencies trying to surveil everybody, and it's not about those individuals who may look at porn, because in today's world the opposition targets soldiers and government people, and they put that shit up there anyways for all of us to see. And no matter how much of a protector of the children you want to be, it kind of ends up being like pedophilic that you care so much about children. They have to grow up just like you. And not saying by like getting, assaulted or like abused, but I'm saying like just being surrounded in a world. It's the world, and you can't cover their eyes or shield them from the reality of the world. I'm not advocating for pedophilia. I'm just saying when you got rapists and murderers, serial killers, pedophiles, human traffickers, that's just the way the world is. And I put all of that into the book. And, coming from a background in my life that's darker than other people's, or, environment that has shaped us through violence. And when you've, as a kid, when I was making comics and drawing, it was violent. I wanted to make things that would make people reaction, a true artist. And when that comes to fruition in real life, and nowadays when I'm on a video game on YouTube and you're raging and people have a reaction over you raging, I mean, I should have put it into the comic, but that's still me as an artist creating something on YouTube. So when people unsubscribe and you feel bad, or you're like, oh, it was too crazy, or you're feeling bad, or if there was some technology out there where people could read your mind or talk to you and subliminally, control you, you wouldn't want to feel bad, and you can't feel bad for what you say or do. It's just the way it is, and you can't go after everybody, every pedophile. I could see Diddy because he went and like raped a bunch of women, but the people that look at that stuff, the agencies just have to stop worrying about people jacking off to everything, because it's kind of stupid. You have to go after the people that are truly evil, creating human trafficking, like not in terms of like having slaves, but like in terms of forcing kids to take pictures. You can't go after people that like jack off or like download it, or go after the people that trade or sell, or if they buy. And even the people that buy, is it for personal use, or was it because they wanted to sell it? Was it because they wanted to exploit these children? There's so many people in this world, and not everybody can be perfect. You have to introduce people into the society again. Was it because they wanted it just to jack off, personal use? They were going to delete it? Or you can't have a facial recognition for every time people jack off to shit that's going to be on the internet anyways, and we're going to be exposed to it. That's like a form of mass surveillance, but still, we have to go after the people that were the worst, the ones that make it, the ones that sell it for a profit, the ones that make fun of the kids, the ones that force them, evil spite, the ones that are serial killers, the ones that are murderers and rapists. Not all murderers either. Advocating for murder, don't advocate for pedophilia, but I'm just saying, comes to a point where you're not Minority Report. You have to understand that you're under control in many ways, and you can't fear. It's one of the amendments. But even in human race, we have to, in human history, in the world and the earth, that there's a lot of control, and you have to think on your own. And you don't have to be good. You don't have to be evil. You don't have to be in between. It's your opinion. You could do whatever you want. I'm not telling people to go start fucking kidnapping kids and touching them. Please don't. So at least fucking ask their parents first or some shit. Don't spy on kids. Like, fucking talk to them like normal people through a text messenger or some shit. Like, that's weird as fucking shit, hacker shit. Like, those people need to be put away. Those hackers, those people spying, those human traffickers online. You gotta ask their parents. And then she'd be like, what the fuck? You're like 32 or fucking 40 asking me to date my 13-year-old? What the fuck? Or a 12-year-old or 7-year-old? Like, I know it's gross, but that's fucking goddamn the world. But you can't get mad at serial killers either. They deserve to be reintroduced into society. Can't get mad at rapists, murderers. That's between the world and themselves. I'm like a fucking pope, like a priest. I'm not advocating for rape, murder, any of that, right? I'm not saying like I love rape, I love murder. Please just stop. Like, I want like more rape and murder and pedophilia in the world. I'm just saying that the world is more than just those people, and to have that form of expression. And I don't want to hear it from anyone. Oh, I get Diddy vibes right now. Because, it's just all just trash. But, you can't stop it, you can't control it, and that's a form of control. And if you're going to be an artist or you're going to be living in this world, you have to know what control is. So if there was some technology where they could read your mind and talk to you, they're going to have that shit on the internet anyways. So why would you want to advocate for people to be under control, surveil everybody, surveil yourself? The FBI looking at people because they got your picture because you looked at a picture that was on Snapchat or Instagram because you're swiping. You have no choice what you look at, but that's what your parents' job is, right? To watch out for what your kids are looking at, because there's all kinds of shit on the internet. Especially when I was a kid, they didn't have no verification. Well, you got to be verified. Now they want license to watch porn. That's stupid as shit. You need a license to look at porn. What the fuck? When I was a kid on Pornhub, there was 16-year-olds, 15-year-olds, all kinds of crazy shit. And you didn't even know they were 16, 15. It was just called amateur porn. But, that's just art. You sacrifice for your art, no matter what people think. And you can't feel bad for what you do or say or think. And definitely don't feel bad for what you think. It's stupid. You're not gay because you had a gay thought, or you like jacked off to the gay porn, or you're not fucking a goddamn pedophile because you had some weird thought. It's like actually, doing it. But even then, those people deserve to be a part of society and not killed. And I'm sure you can't control even the killers that want to kill them. That's what God's freedom is. He wants everybody to do as they want. It's not control. There is no God that's telling people. That's why they're able to kill. You can't stop guns. You can't stop wars. There's never going to be world peace. That's why celebrities are stupid sometimes. And they have money to protect themselves, and you don't. They have $420 million to go on cruises, security. You could buy off the enemies. You don't. But you just have to know there's cowards everywhere, not to fear anything or anyone. But just know that you can't control the world or people, no matter what they do. And these people that have surveillance and all mass surveillance, that's why there's rebel groups. That's why there's civil wars. That's why people die, sacrifice. That's what it means to sacrifice for your art. That's what it means for me to rage on here and feel bad, but then afterwards I tell you why, and I don't feel bad no more, and we all won't feel bad in the future for what we say or do. I'm not advocating for the rapists, murderers, pedophiles. I'm just saying that you can't control people, and you shouldn't feel bad for what you say or do, no matter whoever it is you are. I just had to make an example. And if you think I'm bad for making an example, then that's fucking weird. You're like a dictator controller then come and try to fucking kill me. You ain't gonna do shit. I ain't scared of you. I can say and do whatever the fuck I want because that's freedom. I ain't scared of shit. My background, my past, I come from a dark, deep, very, you know, different type of environment. Like Shia LaBeouf would say, you know, it was the environment that folded us, molded us, made us who we are. Even if I was drawing these comics that were violent and doing this way before that environment was introduced to me, that was just fate. Maybe it's not fate. Maybe you go looking for blood. They say a man who looks for blood usually finds it, or a wolf that's sniffing blood usually finds it. But I'm just giving examples. If you're mad at me for giving an example or it makes you uncomfortable, then you shouldn't be dealing with even being free. You should go to one of those countries where they control you like a dictator. But I don't know why you'd want to be in that country when America is free as we are. And there's bad eggs everywhere and corrupt people like ICE, people just joining agencies just to beat people up or shoot people, kneecap them or decapitate them with a bullet. Some civilian doesn't know what it means to be a soldier. There's soldiers that don't know what it means to be a soldier. And then there's PTSD. They give soldiers PTSD. Well, you got to kill more. You already did enough. You don't have to join a biker gang just to know what it's like to kill a lot. Then you run away to Russia and they have a war and you can't leave. But just know what it means to be free and not to feel bad about anything. But I'm also sorry that, you know, I have offended you or made you feel awful, especially if you're a woman. And I was raging, not about anything I was saying a while ago. I don't give a fuck. But if I was raging online and you unsubscribed, I'm so sorry, whoever that was. I feel bad. I'm not singling you out or making you feel uncomfortable through that terms or aspect. But when it comes to me saying things that make you feel in danger, like, just know that there's cowards everywhere and you're not in danger. If you feel in danger, get a gun or go to gun class safety. This is your number one, as Clive Owen was saying, shoot 'em up. This is your number one controller right there. That's what pulls the trigger. Put the gun in a safe place where the kids can't get it, or no one else can get it. Don't point it at anyone or anything. I don't even point my finger at myself. Just know, that a bullet can kill things. And the guns now have like 7 safeties. If you're going to get a gun, don't get it with 7 safeties. Get it with a trigger that you pull. It doesn't have a safety on the trigger. There's no safety on the handle. But if you want to feel safe, get those. And 9mm hollow point split. So in case there's a hostage, you have to save your kid. It splits open like a petal. But use it on ballistic gel at the gun range first. See if it actually splits, because sometimes when it splits open, shrapnel comes out and it can still hit the kid behind or a hostage. So you'd want a 9mm split hollow point to protect if you're really worried about it. And then you'd want like a 7.62 AK-47 or like FAL or a SCAR to protect you if there's true war, and know how to change those magazines, mortar your gun in case it's stuck, stovepipe on your handgun, let go of the thing, snap it back in, slide it, get that bullet out. If it's stuck in there, try to get it out or something, just know different ways to protect yourself. But if you're afraid of guns, you don't need them. They're just all cowards in it everywhere. You got a knife. Even then, you got the police. And even then, if you're in another country, you're not allowed to have guns. That's the whole reason I was saying, we're the freest in the whole world. But that's true freedom. We have to thank the men and women who serve so that we're free. But don't fear anything. Fear from want or anyone or anything or anyone, right? That's what it's all about. That's why we protect you, serve for you. That's why I'm not in the military, but that's why the military serves and protects. That's why We have to thank you, the military and their service, for their service. Whether you think my word's wrong or bad, that's your prerogative, man. But it's the truth, and that's where it stands. That's where it stays. And without that humanity, that reality, not about what you did in the past, about what you do in the present and the future that defines who you are. Reintroducing people into society, not judging people. That's what it means to, have a good world so that the people beyond us could live a freer life. Doesn't mean taking guns away or like making sure there's no wars. And nowadays with hackers able to talk through phones and spyware everywhere and people having psyops teams in different areas, not saying the US military or any other psyops teams are bad. I'm just saying that there's psyops teams, psychological teams that target individuals in the military and government, or if you even know the military or government. I'm not saying that you don't need to know, don't need to be in fear of anything. That's the whole point of fighting for your freedom so that, you can be free. But people out there that want to control you or peer pressure into doing drugs or just do it. Come on, come on, come on. It's not that bad. Come on. It's like you don't have to do anything. Be your own person. But don't feel, bad about what you do, whether it's porn or killing or whatever you did in the past. All them evil people are good, or you're not evil in my opinion. Rapists, serial killers, pedophiles, murderers. I don't care. I advocate for reintroducing people into society and also not judging people. Let them trip. Let them be vulgar. Let them be, loud, you know, radical. But nowadays, with hackers and whatnot talking through phones, they can, and the power of suggestion through videos online and ad revenue, marketing firms. Look it up on New York Times. Marketing firms, ad revenue, spying on your phones. Or the New York Post. New York Post, marketing firms spy on your phones. Or look up Havana Syndrome. Or look up fucking people hearing shit in their head through fucking sound wave guns that are used to spy on embassies, and agents fucking hearing shit that work for the government and military, PTSD, because all kinds of people are fucking with them, talking to them, trying to radicalize them. People want schools to be shot up, so they target kids that are in broken homes or in military houses or governments, and they want mass shootings, and they want people running people over in mass because they know that we can't send rocket attacks. Generals can't control people in the United States of America. And if they do, you have the Second Amendment. You have the right. You're the last line of defense beyond the military, a civilian. You have that right. Even if you're in prison, you don't have rights. You still have fucking rights in case shit goes down, you know what I mean? Not like a militia ain't gonna let you join. Hell, you could be a saboteur if you wanted to. You could be, I wouldn't say vigilante, but I mean, you could be a vigilante if you wanted to. You just be whatever the fuck you want. You do whatever the fuck you want. You want to be an actor? Go do it. They say, oh, it's the toughest thing. Yeah, because they don't want you making money. And before, it was Harvey Weinstein raping everybody, controlling everybody. I'm not advocating for pedophilia, but when it comes to like things that are beyond your nature, you can't get mad at people. I'm not advocating for rapists beyond your nature. You can't judge people. People deserve to have a second chance, and some of them are under control in today's reality. And those who aren't, they deserve second chances too. But, that's just the reality of the world we live in. And in order to be an artist, you have to understand what we sacrifice and who sacrificed for you. And you can't judge people. Anyways, I'm getting thirsty, hungry. I got the vaccine for COVID and the flu, and my throat's all dry, and I'm getting hot and heated in here, and it sucks. But you know, there's all kinds of different people, and you can't worry about them. You can't be in fear, but you can't judge because that radicalizes people. You just have to trip with them sometimes, and not on drugs. I mean, like mental trip. Like if you're at a gas station, someone's yelling. You know what I mean? Like companies nowadays want perfection. Everybody be perfect. But I'll be back to draw some more. And doesn't mean I'm any of those. Hell, it could mean I'm any of those. It's none of your fucking business. That's what before social media. No one needed to be in anyone's business. You didn't need to hang out with me. That wasn't my clique. That wasn't my niche. That wasn't the group I was hanging out with. You wouldn't have been my friend anyways, but I am sorry if you came in here and I made you feel unsafe or made you feel bad, but you should know that coming into social media, especially if you see like gore or like pedophilia on the internet, because we have no choice. Hackers like Chinese Communist Party and Russian government or Ukrainian government do it on purpose to make the Russian government look bad, or you know, whatever it is. Israeli people need money like the Indian people, and they make spy bots, spyware. Look up the View, the recent View episodes of the View where that kid was on there talking about spyware. Look up spyware the View. Talk about how it's just sold everywhere. But way back for some more art. I love you, like more than anything. I'm not advocating for anything horrible or bad, and even if I was, it's just so that you know I understand what you're going through and you could do more, you know? You don't have to be at a cap between that and the world or whatever. And it's freedom. No one can control you. Even if there was like some shit out there that could read your mind or whatever. And they could talk to you and control you. You know, it's about freedom. But, you know, I'll be back to draw some more. One love, just like Bob Marley, you know. And you know, fuck you too, as Revy would say from Black Lagoon. And see you soon, cowboy. Or see you soon, space cowboy. What's up, Mirko?